In this video, we're going to create Captain America and his shield in Unity 2D. Let's begin. Hello and welcome, I'm your CodeMonkey, and this channel is all about helping you learn how to make your own games with in-depth tutorials made by a professional indie game developer. So if you find the video helpful, consider subscribing. So this is our goal. I'm currently controlling Captain America here. I can kick and punch enemies to kill them, and I can also do a nice dodge roll. So I kill them, do a dodge roll, and obviously I can throw my shield. I can throw it, I can recall it, and punch them, dodge out of the way, and throw it again. As you can see, the shield is somewhat smart, and if I hit one enemy, it automatically tries to target different enemies. It also is using physics, so I can throw it into the wall, and it bounces off of it, just like that. And the whole thing looks very nice, very satisfying, and the code is very simple. Alright, so let's get to it. Here we are in our starting scene. So I'm controlling Captain America with some simple movement, and there are enemies being spawned. I can also do a dodge roll to dodge out of damage. I've done videos on the character movement and dodge roll, so check the links in the description to see how it works. And all of these enemies, they move towards me and they try to attack me. Okay, so this is the starting point. Now let's get to work on making the shield. So here in the editor, let's first make the shield game object. So an empty game object, call this the shield, add a sprite renderer. I'm going to drag the shield sprite I have in here, okay. Now let's add a circle collider 2D, make sure that it matches the size of the shield, and a rigid body 2D. Since we are in top-down, we set the gravity scale to 0. Okay, so this is the basic setup for our shield. Now let's make the code in order to throw it. So here we are on the Captain America player code. Here is a bunch of code to handle the simple character in order to handle movement, dodge rolling, and so on. So we don't need to worry about any of this. We just need to be able to test when we should throw our shield. So we go here into our update. And in here, let's just do a simple if to test for a right mouse button click. So we do a if input dot get mouse button down, and we need an index for the right mouse button. So in here, the left one is on 0 and the right one is on 1. Okay. So when we press on the right mouse button, let's throw our shield. So for that, we need a reference. So let's go up here, make a serialized field for a private transform for the shield transform. So here in the editor, just drag the shield reference, okay. Now back in here, when we go on our right click, let's first place the shield on top of the player. So we take the shield transform dot position and we put it on this transform dot position, okay. And then we want to use the rigid body dot add force in order to throw it towards the mouse. So first we go into the shield transform in order to get the component of type rigid body 2D. On the rigid body, we have our add force function. And now in here, we need a vector2 for the direction that we're going to throw. So we want it to be towards the mouse. So for that, I'm going to go into the utils class, which is part of the CodeMonkey utilities that you can grab for free from unitycodemonkey.com. So in that, there's a very nice function in order to get the mouse world position. So our vector3 for the throw direction will be the mouse world position minus the current transform.position. So in here we need the force, so the throw direction, plus we also need a float for the throw force. Let's test the number. And we add it as impulse. Okay, so that should do it, and we should be able to now throw our shield whenever we press on the right mouse button. Let's see. Okay, so here I am. Now if I right click, let's see the shield. And yep, there you go, it went towards the mouse. Okay, awesome. So far, so good. Now the shield is going to have some logic to it, so let's make a simple class instead of hard-coding everything on the player class. So in here we make a new C# script. This will be our shield, and let's drag it onto our game object. So just drag it in there, okay. So here on the shield code, let's start off by making a function in order to throw it. So we make a public void throw shield, and we receive a vector3 for our direction. Now in here, we're going to do very much the same thing we were doing in our testing. So let's go here and copy this. So we modify our transform position. Then we use this as our throw direction. and we use our transform get component. Now in here, this is meant to be the player position. So let's go up here, define a serialized field for our Captain America reference. Now we set it in the editor. Just drag it on there. Okay. So with that, we can simply go in there and get the position. And now back onto the Captain America class. In here, we need a reference for the shield. So let's do that. Instead of having a reference to the transform, we have a reference to a shield. Now we drag this on the editor, drag the reference, okay. And now down here on the right mouse button, we go to the shield and we call throw shield. And now we need a direction, so let's calculate that. And that's pretty much it. So let's test, and we should be able to see the exact same thing that was happening previously. So here we are, and right click, and yep, there goes the shield. Okay, great. Now that we have the shield being thrown, let's also add a nice little effect. So we want to add a nice trail. So for that, we can simply add the trail renderer. And here we just modify this. Okay, so here's our trail renderer. We just keep it visible for half a second. It starts off very big and then becomes very small, and starts off fully white and becomes transparent. So let's see it in action. So here we are, and when I throw the shield, yep, there you go, a nice trail follows it. Okay, awesome. Now that we have our trail looking very nice, let's make our shield recall. So we can throw the shield and then get it back. So here on the shield script, let's make a recall function. So a public void recall. And now in order to recall, we need to move the shield towards the player. So to do that, we're going to set the velocity pointing towards the player on update. However, we need to know when we should do that. We don't want the recall code to run while the shield is being thrown. So let's go up here to define enum for all of our various states. So a private enum for the state. And the various states this can be is with player, so when the shield is on top of the player. Thrown, which is when the shield has been thrown. And finally, recalling. Now let's use these states. So when we call throw shield, let's put the state. So we go up here to define a variable for a private state. And here we set the state to be state.thrown, okay? And when we recall, we set it to state.recalling. Now let's do a private void fixed update, since we're dealing with our physics. Do a switch on the current state. Case we are on state.recalling, then we want to set the shield velocity towards the player. So let's also go up here, make a private void awake in order to grab our reference to the rigid body. So a private rigid body 2D. And we grab it in here. And here on the throw shield, we use this instead of always grabbing the reference, okay? And here we set the velocity. And now we need direction for the player. So a vector3 for the dir to player. We also need a float for the recall speed. And finally, we need to test when we are close enough to the player. So we do a if vector3.distance, calculate the distance between this transform.position and Captain America.getPosition. If that distance is under the grab distance, so here a float for the grab distance. If we are within grab distance, then we grab our shield. So we set the state to be state.widthPlayer. When we do, we also set the velocity back into 0, so it stops moving. And we set the rigid body to kinematic, so it doesn't collide with anything. So rigid body. Okay, so this is our code for recalling our script. And then let's also do a private void late update. So this runs after every update. So we do a switch on our state. In case we are on the state with the player, then we want the shield to be on top of the player. So we move the transform.position. Specifically, we're going to put the shield on top of the body sprite. So in here we go into the Captain America and we get the body position. Alright, so this should be working. Just one last thing is when we do throw our shield, we need to set its kinematic back into false, so the body becomes dynamic. Okay, so on the player we call throw shield. It throws the shield from Captain America towards this direction. Then on the player we can also call recall. When we do, we set the state to be recalling. Then on the fixed update, if we are recalling, then we calculate the direction towards the player. We move the rigid body towards it, and when he's within grab distance, then we simply grab it and keep following the player. Now let's see how we're going to call recall from the player. So here we are on Captain America's class, and we have our right mouse button in order to throw our shield. However, instead of always throwing, let's use the same button to work for both throwing and recalling. So in order to do that, we need to ask the shield if it's with the player or it has been thrown. So here on the shield, let's add a public bool is with player, and it will return if the state equals state.withPlayer. And also up here on our awake, let's set our starting state. We start off recalling, so the shield automatically goes to the player, okay. And back in this class, so here first we ask if the shield dot is with player. If it is with the player, that means it can be thrown. So we throw the shield, and if not, we go into the shield and we call recall. All right, that should do it. So let's test and see if we can recall the shield. Okay, so here I am controlling Captain America, and as you can see, the shield is indeed on his back. Now here we have an issue with regards to the trail render. It should only be active whilst the shield is flying, so we'll sort that later. But for now, let's try to throw the shield. So here I am, I press on the right mouse button, and there you go, there goes the shield. Now the shield is stopped, now I press again, and yep, the shield is being recalled. So I can throw it, and I can recall it, and it's constantly falling. Okay, awesome. Another issue that we can also see is with the sprites. We want the shield to look like it's always on his back. So in here right now it's correct, it's on his back. However, if I go up, it's still behind the sprite. So we need to modify the sorting order depending on whether the character is facing down or up. So let's solve that. First, the trail renderer. So we go up here and we grab a reference to our private trail renderer. Here, when the player grabs it, we set the trail renderer dot enabled into false. And when we throw it, we set it to true. Okay, so that should do it for the trail renderer. Now for the sprite sorting order. Let's go into our late update, and here on the with player, let's modify the sorting order. So first we ask the Captain America class if it is facing down. So if Captain America dot is sprite facing down. If the sprite is facing down, then we want this sprite to be behind it. So we need a reference to the sprite renderer. And here we set the sorting order to be on the Captain America.getSorting order. In this case, we want it to be behind, so -10. And if not, we want it to be in front, so +10. Okay, so let's see if the shield is always on his back and if the trail renderer is disabled whilst he's with the player. So here we are in first move, and yep, there's no trail renderer. And now if I'm facing upwards, yep, there you go, there's a shield on his back, and facing down, and yep, it's still on his back. Okay, great. Now, one issue we do have right now is with regards to the recall. So if I throw the shield, there he goes, the shield is in there. And if I go right on top of it, as you can see, he does not grab the shield. I still need to press the recall in order for the shield to come back. Let's make the grab automatic if Captain America is close enough to the shield. So for that, let's go here. Test case state.thrown. So if the shield has been thrown, let's do essentially the same test that we're doing here on our recall, where we test the grab distance in order to grab it. So in order to not have duplicated code, let's put this in another function. So in here, a private void try grab shield. And we're just going to copy this code and we call this function. So again, here we define a grab distance. We test the distance between this transform and Captain America's position. If we are within the grab distance, then we simply grab it. So we run it on recall and also when the player has thrown the shield. Now another issue we might have with this is that maybe he grabs it the second that he throws it. So when we throw, we can simply push it further away than the grab distance. So in here, before we do this, we put the position on the get position plus the throw direction multiplied by a grab distance. So let's define the grab distance up here. So a private const float for the grab distance. And here we use that one instead, and here we use that one as well. So this way we make sure that on the same frame that we throw the shield, we don't grab it. Okay, that should do it. Let's see. Okay, so here we are. Now let's throw the shield. There he goes. Now I go near it, and if there you go, he grabbed the shield. Now I can throw it again, and if I want recall, and if I don't, I can just go to it and grab it manually and throw it again. Okay, awesome. Now, since we are using physics to move our shield, that means we can easily add some walls to bounce around. So here in the editor, let's make some walls. Over here I have one. As you can see, it's just a simple sprite renderer with a box collider. So let's put it here and try throwing the shield directly onto the wall. Okay, so here we are with the wall. Let's throw the shield onto it and see if it goes there and bounces away and throw. And yep, it didn't work. The shield went towards the wall and then slid alongside it. So that means we need to make our shield bouncy. So for that we go in here, we create a new physics material 2D. Let's call it bouncy. And in here you can check the friction and bounciness. So we set the friction to 0 and bounciness to 1. And we just drag it as a physics material on the rigid body for our shield. Just like that. Okay, let's see. So here we are, let's throw. And yep, there you go, I can throw the shield and it bounces back. Okay, so just like that, we can also do some really complex throws. Okay, great. And the recall is also using physics. So if I go into the other side of this wall and I try to recall, as you can see, the shield can't quite make it. This is very much a design choice. Maybe you want the recall to go through walls, maybe not. If you do, then you would simply do the recall the same way that we did with the player, make it kinematic and modify the transform.position directly. But in this case, I like this behavior, it feels good. If it's away, I need to make sure that the shield can reach me. Okay, great. So now let's add our enemies again and try to take them out with a shield. So here is the enemy prefab that we're using. As you can see, they already have a box collider with isTrigger enabled. So we can use that trigger in order to trigger collisions and damage the enemy. So let's go into the shield code. And here we add a private void on trigger enter 2D. So this function is called whenever this shield is colliding with another collider. Now in here, let's test if we are colliding with the enemy. So we try to grab the enemy reference from the collider. And if it is not null, then we have hit an enemy. So in here, let's knock him out. Okay, so this should be working in order to make sure our enemy dies when he gets hit with the shield. Let's test. Okay, here we are, and there's an enemy. Let's try to take him out, and I throw the shield, and yep, there you go, the shield hits him, and he gets knocked out, and I can grab the shield again. Let's try hitting on the wall. So here on the wall, throw, bounce around, and yep, there you go, the enemy died. Okay, great. So we can now throw the shield collides with the enemies and causes them damage, which causes them to die. So here we have a bunch of enemies. I can punch them, I can kick them, I can throw the shield, there they go. I can still take them out, throw the shield to that one, recall, punch this one, get it, and yep, great. And he also dies on the recall. If I throw, recall, and yep, there you go. Okay, great. Now, it would be quite awesome if we could make the shield hit several enemies at once, so some sort of auto-target. Let's do that. So here in the shield, when we hit an enemy, let's look for enemies that are near that one. So for that one, the enemy handler class has a function where I can get the closest enemy. So the closest to this position and within a certain range. So if there is another enemy near this one, let's modify the shield velocity in order to go towards that one. So first we grab the magnitude of the current velocity, so it keeps going at the same speed. So we float throw speed, which will be the current rigid body 2D dot velocity dot magnitude. Then let's calculate the new direction. And then we set the rigid body 2D dot velocity to be the new throw direction multiplied by the same throw speed. Okay, so let's see if we can hit several enemies with just one throw. Okay, so here we have 3 enemies. Now if I throw my shield onto this one, the shield should then automatically target one of the others. So let's see, I throw, and yep, there you go, he went from down, and then didn't have enough speed in order to reach the last one. But yep, exactly, as soon as he goes, he hits one, and he tries to hit some more. So here, for example, they are behind a wall. Now I throw it, and yep, there you go, I hit all 3 by doing a nice bounce off that wall, hit the first one, then automatically target the others. Okay, so we have successfully made sure that our shield can hit multiple enemies at once. However, here we have another issue, which is that the shield is currently acting kind of like a mine. So if I throw the shield in here, and then I wait for the enemies to go through it, as soon as they step on it, they die. That is not what we want, so let's sort that. Essentially, we only want the shield to cause damage if it has a certain amount of speed. If it's just standing there, we don't want it to damage. So in here on the onTriggerEnter function, all we need is to test the magnitude of the current velocity. So we grab the magnitude up here. And if we do hit an enemy, we're only going to run this if we are within a certain threshold. So the shield will only cause damage if it's going at a bigger speed than this. If not, then it's considered to be idle, just standing around the map and doesn't cause damage. Let's see. So here we are, they're chasing me. Let's throw the shield in there. And let's see if they step on it and what happens. And they step on it and nothing happened because the shield is idle. Now I grab the shield, now if I throw it, yep, there you go, all 3 of them took damage since the shield was moving fast when it touched them. So we have pretty much all of our shield logic working. Now let's build a nice simple map and randomly spawn our enemies. Okay, so here we have a nice simple map with a bunch of walls. Let's test. And here we are with our nice character, moving him around. I can punch the enemies, and there you go. I can throw the shield hit that one, then it went that one. And now there's another enemy, and I can still roll out of the way. So punch this one, roll out of the way, punch, throw, recall, throw again, recall, throw again. And yep, everything looks very nice. Everything is a nice system. The logic for the shield is working perfectly fine. Throw multiple, and it feels quite satisfying. And the whole system is quite nice. So as you can see here, we have created a very nice simple mechanic that is quite satisfying to play with, and as you saw, the logic isn't very complicated. We just throw the shield, move it in certain directions, recall it into a certain direction, and we also have basic attacks, basic movement, and so on. As always, you can download the project files and utilities from unitycodemonkey.com. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel for more Unity tutorials. Post any questions you have in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. Alright, see you next time.